Most men think strength is about having the loudest voice in the room, the sharpest comeback, or winning every argument. They believe dominance comes from aggression, from proving they're right, from never backing down. But here's the truth the Stoics understood 2,000 years ago. Real power isn't loud. It's quiet. It's controlled. It's calculated. When you react emotionally, you hand your power to whoever provoked you. When you lose your composure, you lose the room. The strongest men don't need to raise their voices because their words already carry weight. They don't argue, they observe. They don't defend, they redirect. In this video, I'm going to give you 6 simple phrases rooted in Stoic wisdom that will make you sound calm, collected, and completely in control, even when others are losing their minds. These aren't manipulative tricks or fake confidence boosters. They're psychological frameworks that shift the energy in any conversation, protect your peace, and establish you as someone who cannot be rattled. Master these, and you'll never sound angry again. You'll sound wise. The Stoics believed that most human suffering comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. People's opinions, their reactions, their disrespect, you can't control any of it. What you can control is yourself, your thoughts, your responses, your inner state. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind is like a fortress, and no one can breach it unless you open the gates. Most men surrender that fortress the moment someone insults them, challenges them, or disrespects them. They react, they defend, they attack, and in doing so, they prove they're still controlled by external forces. Stoicism teaches you to build an unshakable inner fortress, not through suppression or denial, but through clarity and discipline. When you understand that your peace is more valuable than being right, you stop wasting energy on useless battles. When you realize that reacting emotionally only drains your power, you begin to respond with precision instead of impulse. The phrases you're about to learn aren't about being passive or weak. They're about weaponizing calmness. They're about speaking in ways that disarm chaos, command respect, and keep you grounded no matter what storm is raging around you. This is the path to calm dominance. Phrase 1, I hear you. When someone is angry, emotional, or trying to provoke you, most men either argue back or shut down completely. Both responses lose. Arguing feeds the fire. Silence creates tension. But when you say, I hear you, you do something psychologically powerful. You acknowledge them without agreeing. You validate their need to be heard without surrendering your position. This phrase disarms defensiveness. It signals strength because you're not threatened by their emotion. You're simply observing it. Imagine someone accuses you of being selfish. Instead of defending yourself or counterattacking, you say calmly, I hear you. Then you pause. Let the silence settle. What happens next? They lose momentum. Their emotional charge dissipates because you didn't give them resistance to push against. You stayed grounded. You didn't need to be right. You didn't need to win. You just needed to remain centered. That's Stoic power. That's how you sound wise, not weak. Phrase 2. Help me understand your perspective. This phrase is a masterclass in psychological judo. Instead of defending, you redirect. Instead of attacking, you ask. When someone is upset or accusatory, their brain is flooded with emotion. They're not thinking clearly. They're reacting. By calmly asking them to explain their perspective, you force them to shift from emotion to logic. You take control of the conversation without raising your voice. Most men fear this phrase because they think it makes them look uncertain or submissive. Wrong. Asking someone to clarify isn't weakness. It's dominance disguised as curiosity. You're making them work to justify their position while you remain composed. And here's the Stoic truth. When you genuinely seek to understand before reacting, you avoid unnecessary conflict. You gather information. You see the situation clearly, You don't let pride or ego dictate your response. You stay rational. You stay powerful. This phrase keeps you in control while appearing open-minded. That's wisdom in action. Phrase 3. That's one way to look at it. When someone challenges your opinion or tries to drag you into a debate, this phrase is your shield. It's non-reactive. It's calm. It's dismissive without being disrespectful. You're not saying they're right. You're not saying they're wrong. You're simply acknowledging their viewpoint and moving on. This drives insecure people crazy because they want you to engage, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But you don't. You stay centered. Epictetus taught that most arguments are beneath the wise man, not because he can't win them, but because he knows they don't matter. When you say, that's one way to look at it, you're telling the other person that their opinion doesn't disturb your peace. You're demonstrating emotional independence. You don't need their validation. You don't need to convince them. You're simply stating a fact and maintaining your composure. This phrase is how you exit pointless battles with your dignity intact. It's how you stay wise. If you're watching this, you're not like most men. You're building something deeper. Emotional strength, mental clarity, calm dominance. That's what this channel is about. If this resonates, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Not because I need it, but because you do. Surround yourself with content that builds you, not distracts you. Let's keep sharpening this mindset together. Phrase 4. I'll think about that. Most men feel pressured to respond immediately, especially when challenged or criticized. They think silence or delayed responses make them look weak. But the Stoics knew better. Immediate reactions are almost always emotional, not logical. When you say, I'll think about that, you reclaim your time. You refuse to be rushed into a response dictated by emotion or social pressure. This phrase shows discipline. It shows you're not reactive. It shows you value truth over ego. If someone tries to manipulate you into agreeing or disagreeing on the spot, this phrase neutralizes them. You're not saying yes. You're not saying no. You're simply pausing to process. And in that pause, you maintain control. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to delay judgment until clarity emerged. This phrase is how you practice that in real time. You give yourself space to think, to breathe, to respond from a place of strength, not impulse. That's Stoic wisdom applied. Phrase 5. I don't need to be right about this. Pride destroys more men than failure ever will. The need to be right, to win every argument, to never back down, it's ego masquerading as strength. True strength is being able to let go. When you say, I don't need to be right about this, you're not admitting defeat. You're demonstrating confidence so solid that you don't need external validation. You're telling the other person that your peace matters more than their approval. This phrase is especially powerful in relationships, workplace conflicts, or family drama. It ends unnecessary battles instantly. Why? Because most arguments aren't about truth. They're about ego. And when you remove your ego from the equation, there's nothing left to fight about. The Stoics believed that the wise man doesn't cling to opinions. He holds them loosely, tests them against reality, and discards them when they no longer serve him. This phrase is how you embody that philosophy. It's how you stay free. Phrase 6. We can agree to disagree. This is the ultimate Stoic exit strategy. When a conversation is going nowhere, when emotions are high and logic is low, you don't need to keep fighting. You simply acknowledge the impasse and walk away with dignity. Weak men stay in toxic debates because they think leaving means losing. Strong men leave because they know their energy is finite and valuable. When you say, we can agree to disagree, you're setting a boundary. You're saying, I respect your perspective, but I'm not obligated to change mine or convince you of mine. This phrase protects your mental space. It prevents resentment. It keeps you sovereign. The Stoics taught that you are not responsible for how others think or feel. You're only responsible for your own inner state. This phrase is how you honor that principle. It's how you end conversations without burning bridges. It's how you stay wise, even when others stay stubborn. Let's recap these 6 phrases that separate emotional boys from emotionally disciplined men. I hear you, disarms without agreeing. Help me understand your perspective, redirects with intelligence. That's one way to look at it, protects your peace. I'll think about that, reclaims your time. I don't need to be right about this, destroys ego. We can agree to disagree, exits with dignity. These aren't scripts to memorize. They're principles to embody. When you speak like this consistently, people start treating you differently. They stop testing you. They stop provoking you. Because they realize you can't be shaken. You've built that inner fortress the Stoics talked about, and nothing gets through unless you allow it. That's real power. Not loud, not aggressive. Just calm, controlled, and completely unshakable. Drop a comment. Which phrase hit you hardest? And if you're ready to keep building this mindset, subscribe now. Let's walk this path together. Stay strong. Stay wise. Stay stoic.